Today is Tuesday, and we're talking about fixtures. And in continuation of what we were doing yesterday, we start to look at directional and general diffuse source, and try to understand why those two critical items are very important. Will also dictate how we get the rest of it done, and how also the rest will control the light, and will give a direction to your project. When we work with 3D printing, what's happening is that we are not focusing on the really on the source. Now we have unlimited possibility with the containers, the lighting fixtures. And as we're gonna see today, how this is unlimited resource is also part of where to start, because doesn't mean because it's unlimited that we can do anything we want. And not understanding the light behavior will only make something that could have been amazing just worse, because not only the design will overwhelm the lighting, but also it will take the the direction of your design out of the way. Understanding a bit about fixtures, and understanding a bit about how light works, and understanding a bit about design in general, as we're going to see in the future episode, will help you to understand much more about 3D printing and all the span of creative work you can do with it. And I'm looking for my word because I'm thinking in French, and I got to translate as I go. So what we saw in the previous episode is a bit of a shift. We went from traditional lighting that are available in catalogs, are available from manufacturers that have been there for 100 years, to you selecting a fixtures and items and accessory, to now you have the control and the steering, and you're deciding where your design direction is going. So now you're creating the fixtures. You have the ability to design and realize some fixtures. And we're no longer limited with a catalog or some product that may be not available, or that you had ideas of and you could never find. As I mentioned to you previously, for me, it's easier to design a fixtures. I mean, I'm not talking about recessed light or a wall sconce, but even sometimes a wall sconce, it's easier to design it and get it custom made. It's had way more value to the projects and also to the concept than looking in the catalog and trying to find something that's going to match, in size and shape and colors, and also the lighting source that's inside. So we're no longer selecting fixtures. Now we're becoming fixtures creator. And we're no longer choosing from catalog. We're defining how light will exist in the space. So we're from limitation, now we have unlimited application. And of course, we can also define the size. We can, if we need a 10-inch, we can have a 10-inch. If we need a 12-inch, we can have a 12-inch. If we need a 24-inch, we can have a 36-inch. And this is all part of the design phase and the design distribution that give us that flexibility. And when we start to think about 3D printing and how we're printing 3D objects, we're the relationship is different, because in some case we may be using the 3D print object as a shell. So we're taking a fixture that is approved, that gives the type of light that is very basic, and we're, putting a shell on top and using the light because we understand what kind of light we want. Or if we have more time, more resource, more everything, we can custom design it and go through all the approval line. If we have also more resource, well, then we can do it and manufacture, and if there's a demand for it, we can mass produce it. So what was before a nice to have, now in this world is a reality. We can go and we can start producing, we can start prototyping, we can start also survey the market. We can have a couple social media posts and see what's the feedback. We can go on Pinterest, we can go on Instagram, we can go on X. All of those will give us real-time data that help us to define if we want what we want to do with that fixtures. And of course, if we're doing one of a kind, or if we're doing a private projects and we're doing something very specific, well, now it is specific for that project. We don't really have to do anything because they're already sold. But if we want to, open the market, if we want to get into a small business or a small venture, we can also explore that. And 3D printing is something that's going to make you validate your idea and go very fast. And here I'm talking about fixtures, but when we're in the fixture world and we understand that we have general, diffuse, and we have directional light, there's also an array of accessory and filters and covers and different other medium that we can use to modulate the light that are part of it. And sometimes fixtures are not part of, they don't have all this, they don't have all these accessories. And sometimes without even changing the regulation or changing the approval or homologation of the fixtures, you can create some accessory to modulate the light, to create a little effect, to create a little leaf, to create a little color, to create a little change in the beam spread, and then start to create a signature or a rhythm or a pattern. So by adding accessory, easily adding accessory, you can start modulating the light. So add to that filters and controller. Now you have a whole array of different way to modulate light that you didn't have before. Before, if you wanted to do something, it was very complicated because you could not only do it as you go, you had to go through a certain manufacturing process, a certain line of material process. Let's say, because if let's say you wanted to do something with wood, you had to talk to wood people. Let's say you wanted to do something with metal, you had to talk to glass, whatever. So now with 3D printing, the barriers of entry is very, very fast. And the idea is that with the same light source, you can start adding different accessory and modulate and change the look completely. So, and only just by changing the different accessory, by printing them, by testing them, and so forth. So the 3D printing, as far as fixtures, will give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity to experiment and expand your knowledge, and also to share. Because if you start to discipline yourself and you put it on social media and you go to different lighting group and you start, experimenting and sharing, you'll create around you a little tribe, and people will start asking questions, will start to share their image, their knowledge, and your knowledge will start to build, and your competence will start to also spread out, and you very soon you'll become the person to go by, because with all the different work you have achieved and experiment you have done, it will pay back. Meaning, people, if they have ideas, if they, oh well, we want to do this, they'll go to you. You'll be the person, the go-to person to, to create and experiment and do stuff. And yes, you can get paid for that too. So not only you get paid for the fixture, but you get paid for the testing, the control, all these different things that you're going to bring around that little lighting fixtures, which is basically those two, directional or general diffuse, will give you the opportunity to build up and develop some new things. And that's what I tell people. I say, nothing is really reinvent. It just goes to different eyes. Like, I see things from a viewpoint. You see things from a different viewpoint. The person to my left or my right sees something from a different viewpoint. And none of us are right or wrong. We just have different viewpoints. And exchanging and experimenting will only beneficiate the world of lighting. The more people start printing things in 3D, the more people start to buying 3D printers and experiment, well, the more the price are going down, the technology is getting better, the material are expanding, and. So let's talk about now, what kind of control can we exercise on lighting fixtures, right? So let's say we have a directional source or even a general diffuse, and we want to create some direction. So what would that be, right? Could it be a cylinder? Could it be doors? Could it be flaps? Could it be an iris? So that tool that you're going to create, or you could create, would be to, where does the light go? How do I control that light, right? So those would be called most likely directional tools. Now, let's say I want to have this light to diffuse, to break in many parts. So let's say I have a directional light again, and I want it to hit something and then break into many different parts. So that would be a diffusion tool, right? It would take something very harsh and make it very soft, because once it goes through, it would break up and create this nice soft light. So again, if I wanted to create something vertical, horizontal, and I have a directional light, by putting something in front of it that diffuse the light, it would, make it nice and soft. Now, what about if I have some directional in the ceiling and I want to cut the glare, or on a wall or something? Well, again, I can use a combination of both. I can use a combination of using something to control the light, meaning that instead of being blasting in my eyes, I have a cylinders with a cutoff that, like a certain depth, and it would cut off that glare from that light. Or I could use also something that is diffusing, and then that when the light hits it, it gets to a bigger surface and it gets softer. So again, depending, and I can have a combination of any of those accessory. The other thing I could do is that, let's say I want to work on the intensity perception, right? How strong a light appears, or how soft it is. or I want to create a big mass of light, not necessarily strong, but just create some mass on the wall or on the ceiling, well, that could be also something that I do. I print a certain form and I place it at a certain distance from the directional source or around a general diffuse, and I can enhance the perception of light. I can make something appear bigger than life, bigger than it is, because I add these accessory around it or in front of it. So now, you knowing this, it's all part of your responsibility. Now you have no excuse to say, well, I didn't know about this. I cannot find the accessory. I cannot. No, now with 3D printing, it's your responsibility. And on top of that is that what this responsibility is part of is also the fact that when you see something, your responsibility towards yourself is try to understand how it is done and what does it do. Meaning that you see something cool, you see something done by somebody else in a rock concert, in an opera, in a window dressing, in a residential picture in a magazine. It's your responsibility to question yourself and say, how do they do that? And how can I how can I replicate this effect? How can I do this for myself? Because now you have the tool. You have the 3D printers, you have the different material, translucent, you have opaque, you have just also, yeah, whatever other material you want to try. Because when we start to go with other specific material like resin, and when we go with metals and stuff, you have all the palette of all of those, and it is your job to choose the right one for the right effect. It is a lot of responsibility, but also it comes with a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom, because now you can do it on your own time, you can do it at your own leisure, you can do it in your own space, and come up with your own conclusion. So that's the beauty of being able to modify the light and modulate, and also work with these two sources, the directional and general diffuse. Once we have a light that is general diffuse, let's say it's exposed, you can create everything around it. You can create a reflector to direct that light. You can create something that creates a higher contrast. You can something that do more glare or less glare, right? Depending on what material. As for myself, uh, that's what I do. Before I try something, I try all the different little settings, and I try different materials so that I know for myself what percentage that I need to use it at for the desired effect. And as we will progress into that series, I'll give you tricks, and also I'll give you some place to go get some of those resources. But for now, I want you to open your mind in you deciding and taking control of these two sources, direct and general diffuse. So as I said, with a general diffuse, you can do whatever you want. Now, if we work with an enclosed fixtures, we have a different array of solution, because now the fixture is recessed either in the floor, on the ceiling, on the wall, and we have already some kind of a limitation. But we cannot we're not limited to that. We can do something to soften the distribution. meaning we can put something in the front. We can do something to eliminate the glare. We can add a snoot. And we can also have different shapes, which are called gobo, and we'll look about that in the next in the future episode, which is going to start to create pattern. So by doing this, you start to create shapes on ceilings, on floors, on walls, on material, because again, you maybe the light is gonna bounce on something, and that bounce will not be the full light. Maybe it's a pattern that will bounce, right? Because we put a pattern, and now we have a pattern, and then we have bouncing a soft light, but we also have this pattern on the object that we're bound. So the balance between all these different effects will be part of your control. Now you can see for yourself. I remember a day where I had to run after samples from the manufacturer. I had to run after accessory from another manufacturer. I had to set it up at larger scale into the space, meaning I needed to have scaffold, ladders, anchors, and all kinds of stuff. Now I can do all this in the comfort of my home. And once I take it and I take pictures, then it's just a question of sizing, making it bigger, making it smaller, working with more source, less source, and etc., etc. And being precise about what I need. Because the more precise I get, the better the result is going to be when I talk to manufacturers. Or not, like they may understand, they may not understand, but once I show them pictures and I show them prototype and I say, well, you see that little thing, I need it 40 feet long. Now it's a new kind of problem, new kind of work, new kind of scale, but you have your proof of concept. It works. You did it. And you did it for yourself. You didn't wait after anybody. And then, it's easier also to sell to the client. So that source that you use that was perhaps, a bulb for a house, now you want to do this at 30 feet in the air, and you want to have a reflector that's 20 feet diameters. Now the source may be a little bigger, right? Instead of just being a bulb, now we have a major source. And maybe it has nothing to do with 3D print. Maybe it will need to be manufactured with metals and structures because it has to be welded together. But now you have something you can work from because you did your proof of concept. Before, it would have been the responsibility would be dumped on somebody else, and you as the designer are effect of that responsibility, because you don't have the control of it. Somebody else is comparing. And also when it's time to compare, like this is what I want, this is what it does. It's easier, again, as I been mentioning to you, the eye is very good to compare. So when it's time to compare what your mock-up is and what reality is, it's easier to troubleshoot and say, well, we use a directional light for that, and you're using something that's more general diffuse. All you need to do is find something that is more directional, and then we will achieve that result at that scale. As you can see, owning it is part of this too. And it's not for everybody. I mean, some people will jump in, some people will say, you know what, I don't care. But if you're starting in this beautiful field and then this beautiful trade, the 3D printer is part of your vocabulary. People my age are a bit more conservative. They already did their work. That it's been proven. They did their money with traditional equipment. Now, jumping in a new venture is maybe too big. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about smaller scale prototyping, understanding light, and bringing a light source to another level. Not, changing a whole production line. Not that it's not possible, because every day I see more and more people building these massive print farm, and if they only knew the potential they had, I think this industry would be revolutionized. But for now, let's keep it between us. So when you do prototype, the beauty of it, like I told you, is very simple. Is that we can do variation very simply. We modify this, we twist that, we change, we close, we open the side, we have different wall thickness, and all that research, while we're observing, we take notes, right? Then we try the shadow, we look at the brightness, we look at the comfort. Is it comfortable? We walk around it, we put it on the ceiling, we take a little clamp, we clamp it up. I mean, all of this is part of you adopting this technology, part of you trying new things, going out of your comfort zone, because yes, it is way easier to just look in a catalog and select the fixtures and that's it, give the problem to somebody else. But the final design is not going to be the same. The final design won't be as cool. And your knowledge level will always stay the same. And everybody knows that nothing stays the same. You're either perish with time, or you increase your knowledge and you go up. So basically, there's only one way, is up. You can always, not you can, but the best thing is always trying to go up and improve yourself. And on each project, get better and better and better. And yes, you will make mistake. And as you will go better and better, the mistakes are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And at some point, they'll be minimal. I'm not saying that you'll be perfect, but you'll make minimal mistakes that are not even noticeable. But for you, because you understand the design, you understand light, you understand, fabrication and manufacturing, you'll be saying, oh, well, I should have worked on that shape a little better, or I should have not done this, or if I had this, then I would have been, and you'll learn to simplify your object more and more, because you tried it very complicated, you using a lot of time machine to print something that at the end doesn't produce any change on the light. You waste all that time on little brackets and doing this and doing all these intricate details that you don't see at 15 feet or 20 feet in the air. So now you understand that, okay, the next one, I can have something that looks like that. I don't need to go and design every little screw. If I put little dots, they'll look like screw and they'll give the effect of it, but I don't need to go. Same thing for the light reaction. At some point you'll say, well, okay, if I make it half an inch longer, maybe I will cut off more glare. Good. Only you see this. And I hope that you get to that level, because that means that you already understand how lights react and how you can improve it, and that you're not effect of it. You have the control. And because you have the control, because you have the technology, the next time you'll be improving. So by doing this, what you're doing? Well, by having control, you you're enhancing your design. You're making it more faster to produce, and you don't waste time on little tiny decoration items that are insignificant, but you use light as a tool, which it should be. So now you're understanding when you get into 3D printing and you're doing lighting fixtures, why you're doing this. You're not just doing this because you saw it on some YouTube channel and because everybody's doing this. You're doing this because you understand how light reacts and what you're doing with it. And every little piece of it is not an accident. You may do some accident at the beginning and say, oh, that's cool. Or why did that change? Oh, I forgot to put that part, right? So by understanding, you'll be able to really control the behavior of your light source. But if you just copy something and hope that, and pray that it does the result that you want, you're probably gonna have some very, very disappointing result and end up with poor lighting experience, and other people in your team are not gonna trust you anymore. They're gonna say, oh no, let's go with the known manufacturer instead of opening the can and said, hey Bob, what can you do with this? How can we enhance the experience? How can we control this? How can we take this out and make it something more personalized? So that's the viewpoint you want to have. You want to have people come at you and say, hey, like, this is what I did. I think it's good. You're going to look at it and say, yes. Now, how do we take it a step further without, changing the essence of the concept of the design, of the lighting design? Or how can we enhance the architecture experience with the lighting or with the object that now has become a lighting fixtures? And it's funny because yesterday I was talking to someone, a senior person, and she said, Bob, I don't have much space. I just have space on the ceiling, and it's a concrete. I have a condo. And I said, well, we can start modulating light on your wall. And it was beautiful to see in her eyes the cognition she had. Because first of all, she never thought about it. And when you open a catalog, there is not many light that you can buy to put on the wall that will give you some effect that will enhance your mood or your feeling towards the space. Because that was the first thing she said. She said, Bob, I hate that light on the ceiling. I need to change it. I said, okay, good. I got it. But how can we make that experience better? Right? How can I enhance your experience of that beautiful sunset you have and keeping it there and bringing it into the house even when the sun is down while your curtains are closed? How can you keep that experience? And that's what she loved, because she said, I love talking with you because it's not about hardware. It's not about, no, I can do this, I can do that. It's how I feel and how I'm going to feel after I do it. And of course, it's years of practice, but the most important thing is just when I talk to a client or when I talk to somebody about a concept, a creator, I go to his reality. If I'm there, I go there and I talk to him about the reality he has about the project. And then it's all about him. It's not about me. It's not about the lighting fixtures I'm going to make. It's not about any of that. First, I got to understand clearly what they want and what they need. Once I understand that, then I can enhance that experience with, lighting. And then I can make it one notch higher by doing some custom work. If I go with, okay, this is what you need and that's what they want, there's a dispersion. Or this is what you need and that's what they want. Again, It's very rare that you're going to say that's what you need and that's what they want without listening, without having interest, without communicating, without having affinity and the same reality, of course. So let's say now, like from the minute we decide, okay, we want to create a fixture. So where do we start, right? Where do we start and how do we bring this to the project? Well, first, like I said, it's important to understand the concept. It's important to understand where you're going, where the client is going, and what is the part that they want to do, what the light want to do. Once you understand that, you know what source to use, then you can start to think, okay, how can I do this, and what am I doing? Am I doing something from scratch? Am I taking a product and create some accessory, or is it something that's existing that I'm modifying? And when I'm talking about modifying, I'm not talking about going inside and changing this and changing that. I'm talking about, let's say we have a light fixtures on the ceiling. We don't want to take it out because it's painted around and we don't want to repaint the ceiling. Maybe we can add some effect to it, or a beautiful lens, or a little mesh that will create something that will dim it down, cut the glare, etc., etc. So we enhance the performance, or we reduce the performance, we enhance the comfort and the perception that the client has when he walks in. It's like, oh my God, this is not the same space. Suddenly, it's not about the fixture, it's about the fact that they forget about the fixtures, and now, because it's part of the space, now they can see that they don't have their attention on that fixtures. So the shift of attention went from the lighting fixtures to the space. Oh my God, this is cool. And then we bring this element somewhere else. We bring it into a lamp, or we bring it to a floor fixture that's going to create some uplights. And then we have some of those same details we print and that are creating these beautiful shadows. So suddenly we went from a glary fixture to something that is masked and is got some ideas, and then we have some of them that are coming into projected on the wall, and we have some that are behind plants and that are creating these beautiful textures on the ceiling. Again, there's hundreds of different little things we can do. It's just the way we perceive it. And you'll see that what I'm talking about maybe now is very, very conceptual. And it is. It's meant to make you think. If you can think, you're going to have a lot of success in lighting. If you cannot think, well, go as an electrician and install them. But once you start thinking and creating this magic and an understanding what everything does, then it's just a matter of modulating the space and working with that beautiful three-dimensional space and a few lighting fixtures here and there, different size, different effect, different orientation, and then you can change the total aspect of a physical space. All it does, it starts with one source, right? And one print, and then two source, and then two print, and then. And you'll see, you'll start building your toolbox around light source. And like I said, there's only two types. So it's very simple. It's not complicated. There's nothing hard or rocket science. Once you understand their behavior, then you start to understand how you're going to work with it and how you can elevate your printing knowledge to the next level. And then the next project is next level, next level, next level. And you'll see anything you do, and this is what I want you to understand. Anything you do is already next level, because so little people understand the basic on how these two sources work, directional and general diffuse. Very little few people. If you don't believe me, just go watch any lighting video, any training video, and they'll tell you about fixtures. They'll tell you about all kinds of terminology: watt, lumens, recess, can lights, suspension, track lights. I mean, all kinds of words that are true, but are not important. They're not important. If you don't understand what a track light does, what's the point of putting a track light? If you understand what a directional is and what are you doing with it, then you'll understand that maybe you need a track light that is directional. Maybe you need a recess light that is directional. Maybe you need a suspension that is directional. Do you understand? So now you're not limited by a product or a technology or a system, or no, you know the basic fundamentals of light. And that's what I'm talking about. Then you can start building any kind of accessories and object that will help you and bring it to the next level. And that's why I'm saying, you understand light, you are already one step ahead. You understand 3D printing, and don't take my words. Don't trust me. Don't listen to me. Do it for yourself. And like I said, I'll teach you some tricks without investing thousands of dollars on a 3D printers. I'll teach you some way to start building your portfolio of little effects so that you understand better and better and better lights. And then you can start investing into a 3D printer, maybe 2, 3, 4, and maybe you'll start your own brand. And that would be the ideal scene, right? If I can motivate you or inspire you to do that, my job is done. Because there's nobody else is going to do it. I'm going to do my part, and that's why I'm putting these video out. I want you to do your part. I want you to experiment. I want you to look and search and challenge yourself. What can I do? And even if it's just a little part in your bathroom, in your bedroom, in your living room, in your office, and no matter what, start experimenting and observing and take notes and see how it does and see how it reacts. And everybody has my website, and you know where to reach me. And there it goes. Okay, I'll give you my website, so you can get in touch with me. You can challenge me. You can ask questions. This is not the end. This is the beginning. This is where we start. And that's why I'm giving you all this information, because I want you to be motivated to do it for you, not for me. I don't care. I'm doing it for myself and my clients. And I'm having a beautiful success because it's 4 decades I've been doing this, way before 3D printers. And with all the hard time and all the difficulties I had to do it, I still managed to do it. And I still managed to create magical environment because I was so determined to do it that nothing stopped me. Now it's like a walk in the park, because now I think of something, I make it, and then boom, it is. Boom, it is. Boom, it is. Boom, it is. My desk is full of all kinds of accessory. Why? Because I can. And that's where I'm at now. So when we design a fixtures, now that we think about it, the print form is not a decoration. What we're printing is not decoration. What we're printing is basically control light. We're building the controller that's going to tell the light where to go and how to react and how to behave. And that's what I want you to take away from this talk and from today. Because if I get just this, you just get this idea and you realize the power that you have, Well, the rest, it's all going to be gravy. It's all going to go like boom, 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 like Lego around it. First thing, you got to understand the light behavior. Second thing, you have to understand that what you're creating is a system to control light. That's it. And then we'll see tomorrow how manufacturing and all of that goes. But for today, thank you for being there, and thank